Hello, everybody. My name is Josh. Welcome to On a Storyteller's Night, and this is my co-host.
Hello, I'm Nathan.
And this episode is going to be more of a connection to the listeners, as last week's was more of a awareness. So let's speak about the complete circle and resurrection of music. And I'm going to start us off with a very, very big topic, and that is, what are your thoughts on the whole Ozzy Osbourne situation at the moment?
Ooh, it depends what you mean by situation.
Facing how it's rumoured that Birmingham might be locking down the city during the event.
I've not actually looked at the news about it, to be honest.
Birmingham are generally thinking of locking down Birmingham City for the day as much as they can because it's going to be rammed packed, quote unquote, by BBC.
That's not unusual.
It's happened before. It's happened in Manchester a few times.
Cardiff do it. They close all the roads and everything else for concerts. So it's kind of like it's to be expected. If it's something that big with that many people coming in, they kind of have to, just to make it safe and manageable. It still doesn't help much because there's still, thousands of people entering and leaving. So it doesn't help a huge amount. But yeah,
I mean, with the general topic today being all about the world of music, I thought we'll name the title this is just me, mate, but the circle, the complete circle of music, because there's a few genres, and I'm going to say thanks to Ozzy Osbourne, because there's a few genres that were dying out and they've just made a full circle and they're hitting popularity again, such as rock, original pop rock. It's all coming back full swing. It was going quiet.
Though it's the same with anything, fashion, everything else. Every couple of years it goes back to what people listened to before, because it's generational. So you'll get people of a certain age have now got kids, and they get their kids listening to it, and then suddenly everyone's listening to it again because all the kids are at a certain age. They listen to it in public, and everyone. So it's kind of, it goes through cycles. Like the Beatles keep coming back into popularity all the time, and Elvis, and all it needs is a movie about Elvis, and then suddenly everybody's listening to Elvis again. A movie about Queen, everybody's listening to Queen. That's how it tends to be, isn't it?
The whole reason why I wanted to bring the topic onto music is it resonates with a lot of people. Some people survive because of music. Some people thrive because of music. And considering that we were keeping our eye out for people, or our eyes out for people with last episode, I thought, again, why not just resonate and touch people's hearts with the world of music, because that's what music does. It opens people up.
Well, it's very emotional and very specific. There's always a piece of music you'll listen to and it will remind you of something in your past, or remind you of a person or a situation. Movies can to a certain degree, but music's a lot more emotional driven, isn't it? It's where it's good music, it invokes an emotion in you, not necessarily the same emotion as the person singing and the band playing the song, but it will evoke emotion in you, which is the good thing about music, and it's always been able to do that. That's what makes music wonderful. Well, depending what we class as music, because obviously I have some strong feelings on what I would class as music and what I class as not music. So maybe that's a good place to kind of start as well, isn't it?
Which is what I was going to say.
Music?
At the moment, I have got 5 straightforward generic topics on music to talk about, and number 1 is describe music. What is music? Where can you find it, etc., and what does it mean for people? That is a nice broad start to this one.
Well, I think rather than what does it mean to people, what does it mean to you, me specifically? Because we can't see what it means to other people. It's what it means to us in our lifetimes, and the journeys it's taken us on, and why do we listen to it, or where do we listen to it, how do we listen to it? I think that's the big one, is what do you listen to, why do you listen to, where do you listen to? I think those are the kind of big things, isn't it? For me, anyway, that's how I kind of view music. It's a part of my life in very specific ways. It's always there in kind of the background somewhere. Obviously not when we're recording, because we get copyright strike and all that sort of nonsense, and that's a pain in the ass. Which annoys me sometimes about like YouTube and so on. If there's game music, you have to turn the music off, like GTA, you have to turn the music off. And it changes the enjoyment of that media. Like with a movie, if you strip the music out, movies are dreadful.
Oh yeah,
They don't seem right at all.
It doesn't seem right. There was this film. I don't remember what film it was. I got introduced to it earlier this year, and it was a film that it cuts out the music exactly halfway through for the final act, and there's no more music in it.
Yeah, it's weird.
It felt weird. I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, because the thing is, movies started with music before talking. Silent movies had orchestras playing, bands playing in the theaters. Before they had like the actual recording. Often you would have an actual band or an orchestra in the movie theater while the movie was playing. So there was no speech or anything back then. It was all cue cards and that sort of thing coming up on screen. Like one of my favorites I've mentioned before, Nosferatu. Absolutely love that movie. That's 1922. Before they had speaking, they had the visuals, but there was no sound. So the sound had to be done every performance. So it's always had that link to moving images. The music has always been part of it. So it kind of makes sense that people associate movies with music, even if you don't realize it's there. It's always there, and it does make a big difference. There's lots of instances where people on the internet have done little shorts and so on. If you change the music, it changes the scene completely, and it does. Yeah. And some of them are absolutely hilarious when you actually look like different music, because it changes how people are interacting. Like you get ones with like Darth Vader and Stormtroopers and stuff, and they've changed it to something light-hearted or romantic, and it's totally different when you get Darth Vader coming out the shuttle speaking to one of the commanders on the Death Star and having a go at him. But it's not. And it's more like a love story, and they're looking lovingly at each other because the music's slightly different. I think that's the amazing thing music can do, is change mood, change situation, change context, and I think that's absolutely amazing.
I mean, I completely 100% agree with you that a bunch of people, well, myself included, I wouldn't be human if there wasn't any music in my life. For me, my all-time, and I've expressed this many times in the past to you, my all-time's Queen.
Yeah, Queen, brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. The biopic Bohemian Rhapsody was, at the time, because there's been Rocket Man, and I genuinely think Rocket Man is one of the closest biopics to a celebrity, but I generally think Bohemian Rhapsody is the closest we're going to get to near perfection of telling a story through music.
One thing that I'll say there is the Robbie Williams one.
Robbie Williams, I watched that the other day.
Absolutely brilliant. The whole premise behind it being a monkey, I think, was absolutely brilliant, because it doesn't take away from who he is, because you completely believe that chimpanzee is Robbie Williams.
Oh, yeah,
throughout the whole movie, you never don't think of it. And I think that's a lot better than having an actor, because you have an actor, like even really good ones, like Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody, Taron Egerton in Rocket Man. They were really good, but it was always that actor. It wasn't the person they're representing.
Yeah.
Whereas you take the person out and put something completely different that is a kind of representation of them, it doesn't take it away from, like, oh, you're looking at an actor doing it. It feels like it's the actual person once they've got like the performance right. And I think that worked really, really well. With all the biopics, they've obviously changed the stories a little bit, and nothing is quite as it seems, and the timings are different. Like when with all of them, they've got like where the music isn't necessarily in the right time frame. More so with like Rocket Man and Better Man, they've got music in it that he hasn't recorded yet at that point, so it kind of changed it. Things like Angels, it wasn't written for his gran. In the movie, it looks like he wrote it about his gran. He didn't. There's a Nan song he wrote years after his nan died, and that was Nan's song, it's a lovely song as well. But there's a lot of controversy as well with Angels, because did he write it, or did he co-write it, or did somebody else write it? There's a whole saga about that. And the trouble is, as much as I think Robbie's great, he's a bit of an ass as well, but we all know that's who he is. But he keeps changing the story on how he created it. And that's a bit that gets me, is this other guy that he supposedly wrote it with, and he's got extracts of the original recording of them coming up with it and so on. And he wrote it about his child that died at an early age. And I believe he was Irish, and it was like a saying about angels and so on. I know, loving angels instead, and it was all kind of a cultural thing. And then Robbie's come on with different stories. One of them, he was just in his sister's back garden, although his sister was never in the movie, which I still find a bit odd. But there's no mention of her at all. But one of his stories, he was in the back garden with her, just lounging around, and came up with a song. Another one, it's about actual angels, like the angel Gabriel and stuff like that. And it's just, it doesn't tie up to the feeling of the song. It's just like, really? Just be honest about it, rather than changing the story all the time. So that's one thing that kind of bugs me a little bit. But I'm a huge Robbie Williams fan. Actually, for the movie, I've got I don't know if you saw it on Facebook, he was signing loads of posters and stuff. I've got one. I've got one of the signed posters. It came with the CD of the soundtrack and 2 audio cassettes, a gold one and a silver one, with alternate covers for posters for the movie. So it's really cool. So I've got that. So my mum actually bought me that after we took her to see the movie, and she saw it on Facebook and ordered it. It took ages for the poster to come, and they folded it. It wasn't rolled up. It was folded in 4, which is a bit but I'll put it up somewhere. It's quite a nice thing to do. I quite like it. So yeah, that's cool.
Now let's go on to a different topic. I don't by any means think that I'm casually just skipping over. I loved that the whole situation with your mum, going to see the film, wanting to buy you that poster and CD and whatnot. It's quite nice for people to do that. You don't get that much often. But my next topic that I would personally like to talk about, not necessarily you would want to, but what do you think's better? And I would like some descriptions, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Rap and hip hop compared to drill and grime.
Not a fan of any of them, to be honest, at all. Not at all. Not my sort of thing.
Neither.
Sort of music I don't listen to. Rap, it depends. Eminem, I don't mind. Most rap, it's just not my kind of thing. A lot of it, to be honest, a weird thing, it just makes me think of William Shatner.
Okay.
William Shatner has a music career, believe it or not, and he's actually quite good. But all he does is talk along with the music. So they have music like Rocket Man. He's done covers of Rocket Man. He's done loads over the years. He did it on the MTV Movie Awards, and he did versions of all the songs. Or something. It was 92. Was it that Terminator 2 came out? Was it 92?
I'll check now.
Can't remember, but it was that year, and that was one of the movies. So he did a cover version of "You Could Be Mine," but did it
1991.
Talking 91. I was close, but he did a cover version of that, and he's just speaking. It says "You could be mine, Eine," and he do stuff like that. And it's Common People he did one of as well, and it's ridiculous and stupid, but somehow it works, and it's just talking to music. And for me, a lot of the time, rap just kind of feels like that. I know there's a lot more melody involved, but a lot of it tends to be, I don't know, not the kind of thing I would listen to relaxing. For me, a lot of the time music is kind of a relaxing thing, less than the gym or something. But for me, it's relaxing, whereas I find it kind of harsh, and a lot of it doesn't relate to how I'd speak to people or situations I'm in and that sort of thing. It's out of my sphere of kind of experience, I guess, is the best way to say it. So I don't relate to it.
About it. I don't understand the whole fascination with grime and drill. It's music that threatens the listener by saying the most vulgar stuff and the most mean quotes and fantasies is just wrong.
No.
And it just, for the UK, when it comes to grime and drill, it's, in my opinion, it's poison to the ears. It's nothing like Michael Jackson or Queen or something light like the Little Mix. You don't hear that in that genre. It's all about the threats and trying to force people the music that they don't want to hear. I actually had a nice conversation with someone today about it, actually, coincidentally, and he asked me, what's your opinion on like 50 Cent? Do you like Central C? And then when we got onto the more UK side of things, I said exactly what I just said then. It's poison to the ears. You're listening to music that's threatening the listener and saying the most vulgar stuff. His reply
I don't
was,
get about it.
Yeah, his reply was, well, mate, some people were brought up in situations that the lyrics describe.
Yeah, exactly.
I replied to that, well, why do these people that are brought up in these situations with their parents and siblings choose to listen to the music that describes almost identical of what they went through?
Because it's connection.
Yeah, but the way the music is being threatening, people pick that up and they think it's okay to threat and say these lyrics out loud in school. It happens in school. These lyrics, like,
yeah, but it's not only that. It's also movies and video games. Look at GTA 5. That's how characters talk to each other as well. You know, look at Trevor. We wouldn't go around talking to people like Trevor does, but it's the same argument as the music, video game, movies. You know, I remember growing up, Beverly Hills Cop. My mum didn't like that at all. There's so much swearing in that movie. She didn't want me to watch it when it first came out. It is. There's so much swearing in that. It's ridiculous. It's Eddie Murphy, it's what you expect. And now it's it's tamed by modern standards. It's ridiculous how things change over the years and curse words become kind of everyday language for most people. And that translates into music, movies, video games, literature. It's all become kind of normal. And let's not go into the dilution of the English language at all, because there's so much these days that people say common terms that they didn't used to. There used to be better ways of saying things. Now they've kind of shortened it and gone for easier versions that to me doesn't sound correct. Because, I grew up in a different era to most people, Out of the two of us, you'll sound like the old man with, the music is loud and it's dreadful, and you'll sound like a little old man. But I'm for a time where there wasn't swearing on TV. If there's swearing on TV, it'd be after the watershed, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
No, what is it?
I agree.
Isn't it? There's nudity, sex, violence, drugs, swearing, all of that on TV. You look at stuff when I was growing up. You look at TV now. There's violence, people getting their limbs shot off and decapitated and everything else. When I was a kid, the level of violence was the A-team. Nobody ever got killed. There were guns flying around, bombs exploding. Nobody got killed at all. There's never any blood. And they were building tanks and stuff, and yet nobody ever got killed. That's the difference between like the different years. It's like we don't really have children's TV anymore because there's so many channels you don't get it. When I was growing up, children's TV was a little bit in the morning, a little bit after school, and then a Saturday morning. And that was it. You didn't have it the rest of them. That's the time the cartoons and the kids' programs are on. And in the afternoon, you get like Doctor Who and the A-Team and Knight Rider and the Fall Guy, Dukes of Hazzard, and all that kind of generic, pretty much the same TV show done in a slightly different way. But the music has done exactly the same thing. Back then, they wouldn't have played a lot of stuff. They didn't play rock on the radio for a long time. Rock music never, and heavy metal would never go on BBC radio at all. The first kind of proper heavy metal song to get to number one in the charts was Iron Maiden, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. And it wasn't even one of their best tracks.
No.
That went to number one. That went to number one because it was featured as a soundtrack for one of the Freddy Krueger movies. It was I think it was Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Dream Warrior, possibly. I can't remember. But it was featured in that, and then it got popularity, and that was kind of like a changing point, because you wouldn't see like heavy metal bands on like Top of the Pops and stuff. Most of them wouldn't go on there because you have to mime, and they hate that. So it's like why be on there if you have to be really, really quiet? A few of them have tried it and it didn't work. I remember Iron Maiden did one in, I believe, Germany. They did a song called Wasted Years, and they were told to mime. So what they did was have some fun, and they all started swapping instruments. So the vocalist was the drummer was the guitarist, and they just, like, throughout the song, they just kept swapping instruments and just playing around. Just because it didn't matter, because they weren't actually singing or playing anything. It was, like, absolutely mental. But
yeah, with them, what was it? It was playback. It was played back, and bands had to mime, do whatever the hell they could to
make it look realistic. Which is just dreadful. It took a long time for Top of the Pops to actually decide. I made one of the first ones, I think, to go on there and actually play live. But it was so quiet, they hated doing it because everything was just turned down really low, so it wouldn't be too loud. It's like, that's not live music, is it? It's ridiculous.
I mean, I've got something up here now, and it reminded me of Iron Maiden being one of the first to go up live. Meatloaf, I'd do anything for love. That took over. That went straight to number one. I'm just looking.
Was it like 13 weeks.
13 weeks, and every time it pops up on the radio, it becomes number one for approximately 24 hours.
It was ridiculous. It was a brilliant song in the video and all. It was
This
fantastic.
was Meatloaf's first playbacked music video as well.
Yeah.
Meatloaf's "I'd Do Anything for Love" is his first BBC playback.
Yeah. The funny thing about the music video for that, the woman that he's singing with is just a model. She's not actually singing. And people are trying to offer her, like, recording contracts, and she can't sing. She was just a model that was just doing, like, the acting on it. She didn't sing at all. It's somebody completely different doing the voice. It was just mental. They just used this woman in the video, and everyone thought, oh my God, she's fantastic. So the poor woman that actually did the singing on the track didn't really get much fame out of it, which is kind of sad. But you'll find that with a lot of things. Like, look at Bryan Adams.
Okay.
Look how long that was in the charts for with bloody Robin Hood. Don't even get me started on Robin Hood. But that song, oh my God, that was at number one forever. That was even longer. God, I can't remember how long that was on for. No, I can't remember. I don't know if I should look it up, because that was insane. That was in the top of the charts for a long time. Wet, 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 number one for quite a while as well. Love Is All Around from Four Weddings and Funeral. And it's every now and then. You don't seem to get that these days, but then music charts and so on are kind of meaningless these days because it's all about streaming. So you can stream anything, anytime, not just new releases. So it becomes difficult to kind of see what's popular these days. Because, like, you look at my playlist, it's a lot of random stuff. I tend to listen to all my music on YouTube. I use YouTube Music. I pay for it. I like it. It's got everything I want. And I don't choose specific music. I just let it play a playlist. And it'll play songs I like, songs that I've clicked that I've liked in the past, songs I've kind of searched for, or songs by bands that I already like. And it does quite well of choosing stuff. But I get some weird stuff on there as well. When you look at it, it's like, what the hell is that? Who chose that? It's like, I didn't choose that. And it gives you the odd weird thing as well. But it's quite good. But from point of view of a chart, you couldn't check that against any particular chart because I'm not necessarily listening to new music. There will be new music in there, especially from the bands I listen to. But it's not going to be representation of what's popular around. And if everybody's doing that, how can you actually tell what the most popular track is at the moment? Like, when it's new, it's all confusing space these days. You don't get the top 40 charts and that stuff anymore, do you, really?
No, to be honest, I don't even... I keep my eye on the charts, the top 40 and like top 100, etc. I keep my eye on them, but I don't necessarily trust.
They're created by the radio stations to plug the songs they want, so that to a certain degree they kind of choose who's going to be famous. Because I don't trust any of it.
This is why I don't trust it. It's corrupt. Yeah. I don't agree with it. It should just be no charts. I generally wish there was no official charts, because then it leaves everyone to interpret.
But what's an official chart? An official chart with this one
there's
is different to an official chart over there. So you get the BBC official chart, Heart Radio official chart, something else official charts. Like,
you've
it's
got
just all over the place.
officialcharts.com, which is run by the Brits, which I think that was the least corrupted one. I say that.
You can look at like Spotify charts and things like that.
Yeah.
So you get a weekly charts, featured charts, and there'll be all different things. But it's once again, this is something that always annoyed me about charts. It's like Top of the Pops and the radio and everything else. They'd have different charts for different genres, and they'd have like rock and heavy metal as one genre, but half the time that would cross over with pop. So you get Bryan Adams is at number one for like 200 weeks with his bloody song from what's it called, Robin Hood. But he's also top of the rock chart. No, he's not. Like, you can't put him in rock and heavy metal and in the pop. Like, choose a side. So it meant nobody else could be top of that, and they'd always play that song every single week. And this is number one again, no matter which chart you looked at, because it'd be him. It's like, for God's sake, soft rock. Oh, it's Bryan Adams again. It's like, decide which lane you're in for it, and that's the trouble with them. The people that decide what is what aren't necessarily the people that listen to it, and that kind of annoys me. But looking at charts, you can look on Spotify and there's top songs global, top songs UK, top 50, viral 50, top songs Argentina, Australia. So they're all over the place. So you know and let's have a look. Let's have a look at the top songs United Kingdom. Let's see how many people I've actually heard of in this. Oh, Lady Gaga's in the top. Kendrick Lamar, Lola Young, don't even know that. So Lola Young with Messi is number one. Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar. That's So True. Gracie Abrams, no idea.
Sabrina Carpenter, Sam Fender, Teddy Swims.
There's so many. I have no idea who half of these people are. But then I don't tend to listen to what's popular. I like a big range of music, but not necessarily the stuff that's in the charts. Mr. Brightside is at number 37. The Killers, what the hell? Iris from the Google Dolls is 39. What the hell?
Don't worry, it gets weirder. I'm looking now. Yellow by Coldplay has made it into 99. Good song, but unexpected.
Yeah. There's a lot like that, and you just think, but it goes to show that anything can get in anywhere. Now, everything is available all the time.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier. Like, I've listened to a lot of 80s and 90s and 2000s, some 70s, some 60s, some 50s. My wide range of music goes from like, I love classical music, Beethoven, Mozart, and so on.
Oh, yes.
I'm a big fan of like the Beatles. I love stuff like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and all that kind of thing as well, like all the standards. I love all that kind of music.
I'm in agreement there.
Obviously, rock music and all that kind of stuff. A certain amount of pop music, stuff like Jamiroquai, who are recording a new album at the moment. I'm really looking forward to that. I love Jamiroquai. Really unusual band, but they're one of my favorites. I like that. Obviously, stuff like Slipknot and Slayer and are doing a tour again. Obviously, I've mentioned Iron Maiden and Robbie Williams and all that kind of stuff as well. But I also love listening to music for musicals. I quite often listen to Rocky Horror Picture Show. I know I love stuff to sing along with. That's, for me, a lot of the time, music is something I can interact with. Sometimes it's something just to listen to in the background. But for me, music is very interactive. I like to have a good sing along. I'm not saying I've got a good voice or anything, but I enjoy singing. It's what I do in the car. I crank the music up and just sing along to whatever's random on there.
I'm looking now. My top 10. Well, I'll just say my top 5 for shorter reasons. My top 5 artists on Spotify is 5th being Howard Shore, 4th being Linkin Park, 3rd being Queen, 1st Daft Punk, I missed 2nd, my bad, 2nd being Beethoven.
Yeah.
I couldn't care what I listen to. If I like something, I'll add it to my playlist.
Yeah.
But I know what I always go back to, and film scores, game scores, brilliant music. Like for example, one of my favorite tracks or score albums might have to go to either Pirates of the Caribbean or the entirety of Star Wars. I
Yeah.
love the Lord of the Rings so much. I love that and the Hobbit. I love all 6 albums from Howard
Yeah.
Shore, but Star Wars just and Pirates of the Caribbean just have that something more mystical towards it. It draws you in every song, and that's something that classical music should be. And a lot of people aren't agreeing that classical music is music. Think about Beethoven. Music wouldn't be a thing. Yeah, music wouldn't be a thing, in my opinion, without Beethoven. Tone deaf. He was tone deaf, and look at the masterpieces he made: Fur Elise, Moonlight Sonata, 1 to 3 movements.
But you look at like music that we consider pop music, like Deep Purple. Smoke on the Water wouldn't exist without like Beethoven, because he actually used Beethoven's music backwards for the main riff. So it's like it's always part of everything. Nobody can say it's not music, because that is what music is. It's
something that you might not know. Frank Sinatra sang. Frank Sinatra, when he sang, he would sing in the tone of each like music note that Beethoven wrote for one movement. Yeah. So, for example, Fur Elise, Frank Sinatra would sing in Fur Elise, but with his voice. He would do the same tone, the same time, at the exact same quaver.
Yeah.
When I found that out, I was gobsmacked.
Well, it's thing you don't kind of consider how technical like singing is. I watch a lot of like music reaction channels. There's like the Charismatic Voice, one called Elizabeth. She's a classically trained opera singer, and she does a lot of reactions to music, like in singing, and she'll give her ideas of what they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it. But she's been introduced to a lot of heavy metal. She's never heard heavy metal before. She's an opera singer, so she had no idea what heavy metal was actually like. And she's become a huge fan of like Dio. She's got such a huge crush on Ronnie James Dio because his voice is just so amazing and different. And she never knew people like that existed. And she's reacted to Ozzy Osbourne and Corey Taylor. She thinks is amazing, and it's great seeing people from different like backgrounds, different genres, taking apart the music, and she knows a lot about how the vocal cords work, and she explains all about like the different things that go on in the throat and the mouth and everything else, and how the air works, and how people make all the different noises and why they do, and the breathing patterns. She just covers all of that kind of stuff, and it's amazing seeing her react to things that I grew up listening to and things I listen to now, and it's amazing to see it opening up to whole other like audience. But you see there's a lot of like people that are into hip hop and things like that, and they're reacting to rock music, and they had no idea, and they listened to System of a Down for the first time. It's like, what the hell is this? And they're like, oh my god, this is amazing! Like, I didn't know people could sound like that. How did they do these things? And it's great seeing all of this kind of changing people's views of what the different music is, because when I was growing up, heavy metal was very much kind of shunned. It was kind of off to the sides, a bunch of weirdos, and and a lot of people I was in school with didn't understand it. I had long hair and everything else. A lot of people I knew in school weren't into that. They were just into the generic pop and stuff like that, and they all thought it was a bit weird. And we had just like the group of people that we kind of hang around with, and it was kind of like a subculture. Now it's just kind of it's everyday normal. So it's kind of strange seeing how things open up and change as more people are kind of exposed to it. But like hip hop, I'm not, as I said, I'm not a fan, but I do like Eminem. I like the way that he crafts the words for the music, and often the speed as well, and how he fits it all in, everything he's saying, like quite quick succession. And that's what I kind of enjoy about that. There's other hip hop that I don't mind, like certain degree Will Smith. I don't think you'd really count him as hip hop these, but I've liked some of his tracks in the past, before the slap and everything else. But I've liked some of his stuff as well. So it's not a blanket I hate all of it. I just don't understand most of it or get the need for it. But I can still appreciate certain aspects of it. Like, I don't like country music. I just don't like. I find it's kind of twangy and samey, and I don't want to know about some cowboy missing his truck. I'm not. Once again, see, I'm not from that background. I don't understand where it's coming from. I don't have the experience in my life to kind of latch onto that, so I don't enjoy it.
See, I wouldn't say I enjoy country music. I like it. I wouldn't go out my way and listen to it. It's just like if Jolene comes on a 9 to 5, it's like, that's a bop. If any like classical country songs that come on, it's a bop. I'll listen to it, but I won't go out my way to be like, do you know what? I feel like a countryman today. No, I wouldn't. But there's just quickly heading backwards a bit. When you say you watch people watch reaction, people reacting to music. Sorry. There's this one guy I would like you to have a look at some point in your free time. His name's Joey Now. I will be sending a link or two to one or two of his videos in the Discord. But there's a video that I watched about 9-10 months ago where he's a music producer and he reacted to the 5th season of Demon Slayer. He reacted to the opening 7 minutes of it, and he constructed it and deconstructed it as he was watching it. And he's one of my favorites for reactions because he actually listens. He pauses it, he listens again, and then he explains.
Yeah, exactly the same stuff. And there's a few that do that. There's Rebecca as well, as RVA, Rebecca, vocal athlete. She does that. She's listened to a lot of anime and stuff as well.
That I've sent 2 links to.
That. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she does a lot of that, and she's listened to a lot of like Lisa stuff, like the first season, like the original opening of Demon Slayer, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Especially, I don't know if you've seen it. There's a YouTube channel that's called First Take. And what they'll do, they'll get an artist like Lisa for that particular song, I can't remember the name of it, for Demon Slayer, and they do one take, acoustic, and they just do it, one continuous take. And it is amazing. Her voice is just, it's astounding. She's done a few. That one's got like that's got like 120 million views or something ridiculous. It's the biggest one on their channel.
It's one of their the First Take. Sorry,
the First Take. Yeah.
Oh, I think I found them. They're like Asian, aren't they?
Yeah. Most of it tends to be like Japanese and Korean and all that sort of thing. But they've had some other people on there as well. Like Avril Lavigne is really big in Japan, and she's been on there as well, and she's got an amazing voice still. And she's like totally different to like the old Skater Boy days. But yeah, First Take, it's brilliant. Listen to that track. The other one she did is the music from Mugen Train.
Yeah.
That one, she becomes quite emotional because it means a lot to her, and she actually gets quite really, really emotional. And it's amazing to see. It's just like, oh my God, like the amount of emotion she puts into the song. You see, like she's almost breaking down crying while she's singing at one point. It's incredible. But there's a few on there as well from Sword Art Online as well.
Yeah.
And there's some absolutely amazing ones on there, and it's all kind of acoustic versions as well. Another really good one on there is, well, in fact, they've got all the different ones from Demon Slayer. So they've got the Entertainment District Arc, that song's in there as well, and also the Swordsmith Village.
Yeah,
and it's really good. And that band, the Man on a Mission, is just weird. They're this band. They wear wolf masks the whole time they're performing. You can't see who they are because they're wearing full-on furry wolf masks.
I was just looking at that video now. It's like, what on earth is that?
Absolutely mental. Yeah, you look at any of their music videos and live performances, they're wearing these wolf masks. It's amazing seeing them sing that with these wolf masks. And it's like, what? But it gave me a whole new appreciation to the song because I like the song anyway. It was quite different. I think the Entertainment Art District is one of my favorite songs, so that one's brilliant. And she is amazing live. She's just like phenomenal.
That's also something that I want to quickly touch across. You've just put it in my head. Japanese music or Japanese scores, underrated as hell.
I've been a big fan of Japanese music since the 80s. So I've been a big fan of like J-rock and stuff like that for a long time.
Have you listened to Baby Metal at all?
Oh, yes, of course I've listened to Baby Metal.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. It's absolutely bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. You got these little Japanese girls with this big, big, hairy bloke singing like death metal. And it's like, what in the hell is this all about? But I love, like, I've always been a big fan of a lot of Japanese rock. So Larkin CL is one of my favorites. Haido is the front man of that, and he's got some amazing tracks. Malice Miser, and there's just loads I've listened to most of my life. A lot of it was because of watching manga back in the day. So the old animes, so stuff like Akira when that first came out. Yuatsuki Doji.
Akira was great.
Odin, and there were loads. And I grew up watching those. It was like, early 90s, I think, late 80s, early 90s when we started getting the VHS tapes of them. So I've been watching like anime and listening to the music, and obviously we had a lot of video games and that sort of thing that obviously from Japan, especially PlayStation, that sort of thing, a little bit later on, obviously. Back in my early gaming days, it was a lot different to that. But there's this video game we had on the PlayStation called Vibe Ribbon, and it used Japanese music, and it was basically you had this character and you'd have to it's one of those kind of rhythm games. It was a stick character on a line, and you had to like jump over all the marks the music was making, but it would change depending on the music, so you get like different shapes you had to overcome and that sort of thing.
Yeah, okay.
But it would all be generated from the music. This is before Beat Saber and all that, and this is one of the original ones. You could put other music in and listen to that, but that had Japanese tracks. And one of the big ones for me was Inuyasha, this really bizarre anime about this girl who gets transported back in time to feudal Japan, most anime in feudal Japan for some reason, and she meets Inuyasha, who is a half man, half dog demon. And it's just like, it's bizarre. But the music in that was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely love it. Still love the music and still listen to it every now and then. So I've listened to a lot of Japanese music over the years, and I've tried to learn Japanese, but I fail at it. But I sing along to the tracks, I've got to.
Which leads me on to another perfectly segued topic. Cheers, Nath. That's 3 in a row you've done for me now.
Hey, music.
Exactly, music is music. Films that tell a story through music and music only. What films like that do you know? Or know of?
I'm going to go on a tangent there and move it away from a movie and say my favorite record that tells a story, War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds.
That is the thing that I always think of.
There's two for me. War of the Worlds and Daft Punk's Interstellar 555 animated film. Yeah. Those two are brilliant. I remember watching Interstellar 5555 for the first time. I was already a fan of Daft Punk, and it just made me fall in love with Daft Punk. Yeah. And when I listened to War of the Worlds, I didn't watch it. I listened to it a second time. The entire album again. I didn't realize how much I'll actually enjoy that record.
It's brilliant.
I really loved it.
When you've got the booklet and you can go for the booklet and all the nice artwork and everything else. So one of my all-time favorite tracks is Forever Autumn.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Very album, and it's amazing. Justin, I can't remember his last name, who was originally from Moody Blues. He's got such an amazing, amazing voice. I completely forgot his last name. But yeah, if I had to pick one track that's possibly my favorite of all time, it might be Forever Autumn. I'd love it. I bought the album quite a few years ago, like perfect condition LP, and I bought the single as well of Forever Autumn. So I've got the actual vinyls of it, which is like, because my dad's always been like a big music listener. My mom as well, but different genres. And I remember growing up listening to that over and over and over. You had the double LP and listened to that a lot as a kid. So it's always there in my back of my mind. I just love that. And Richard Burton's voice. It's why other versions of it are never quite as good. Like I'd love to go and see the stage performance of it, but they've taken away Richard Burton's voice and put Liam Neeson. And I like Liam Neeson, but he just doesn't have that voice. His voice isn't that. It's like when they chose him as Aslan for the Chronicles of Narnia, I think they missed the mark there. He has a good voice, but he doesn't have that strong voice. Like when you compare to like Richard Burton, you can't compare the two. It's like Dumbledore. Richard Harris was an amazing Dumbledore, and I think Richard Harris is great. You know, been a big fan of his for years. One of my favourite musicals is Camelot, which he was King Arthur in, and that was absolutely phenomenal. And as Dumbledore, he's great. He's got that stage presence. He's got that voice that was powerful. He didn't have to shout really loud, but it had power in his voice. And when he sadly died and they put Michael Gambon in his place, I think Michael Gambon is a great actor, but he wasn't the same kind of Dumbledore. Like when he shouts, like when he's shouting at Harry during the Triwizard Tournament, you know, when he finds Harry's got his name come out of it.
No,
He kind of shouts. It's kind of like, yeah, and he shouts. It's kind of a slightly high pitched and slightly crackly, and it's just somebody screaming. Whereas you look at Richard Harris, when he's shouting just silence, you know, when in the first movie, when they're all panicking about the troll, he just says silence, and it's just his voice just ringing through Hogwarts, and it's just like, wow, he's got so much power and authority in his voice. And Michael Gambon was missing that, I think, from the character. There are other people I think could have played the part better. You know, don't get me wrong, he was quite good, and I enjoyed him in it. But as a comparison, it didn't, you know, it couldn't really compete for me, unfortunately. But
I mean,
we'll see how John Lithgow does, won't we?
Oh, I was about to say that. The music with this new Harry Potter reboot that they're going to do is going to be very, very tough to stomach. Like, we all know the normal music for Harry Potter. They will change it.
Yeah,
they will.
I don't think they have much of a choice than to change it unless they got rights to it. It would be sad because it's like anything else. You look at Superman or Star Wars, these are classic music made by classic, you know, amazing artists, amazing composers. Once again, the classical music it just invokes so much for you. You know, you hear that little bit of Star Wars, like just that opening sound.
Yeah, it's the John Williams open.
It's just brilliant. It's, you know, most of them are John Williams. That's brilliant. You know, Superman. Once again, it's like Indiana Jones. It's just amazing soundtrack. And you look at Harry Potter. It's the same sort of thing. I can't imagine watching Harry Potter without that music and without that theme music. It wouldn't feel the same, would it? And that's, I think, it's going to be a problem whenever they remake things. It's like the remake, you know, there's that new version of Superman, and they've taken the music and they've changed it and updated it. It still sounds like it and it still has the beats, but they've done it a different way, which I don't mind, but it's when they change it. It's like Man of Steel didn't have Superman's music in it, did it? And it didn't work.
No, it really didn't. The whole reason for music is to get the audience in the fields. It's to bring the audience into the film. And if you're changing the music that the audience knows and love and completely revamping it and changing it entirely, or even just changing it a little bit, you're like, this doesn't work. It's different for, say, for example, James Bond, because each film has a different opening theme.
It has a different opening, well, to a certain degree.
To a certain degree, it has the normal, like, 60 seconds, the first 60 seconds, perfectly normal, and then it changes to the tone of the film.
Yeah, which makes it, and you know, the whole thing with James Bond, it was always like the big thing, who's doing the music now? And let's be honest, the music was pretty crap. It always is going to be, because they try and work in the title of the track into it. Well, not all of them did, to be honest.
Skyfall for Adele, that was a hit.
I quite like that song as well. I do quite like Skyfall. But you look at other ones and you think, some of them work very well. Like some of the ones in the 80s, Aha did a good one. Duran Duran did a good one.
Duran, yeah, I was about to say Duran
they
Duran
were classic. Good. Then you look at the new ones, Casino Royale, that theme song didn't mention Casino Royale.
Nope.
It's like You Know My Name, and it by Chris Cornell, who's absolutely one of the best singers of all time. Another sad loss. That was a brilliant track. It fit the movie without having to say Casino Royale all the time. And you just think, sometimes it's just a bit like, do you really need to say it so often? It just kind of sometimes takes away from it, doesn't it, unfortunately? But that's the thing, is there's so many classic pieces of music that you listen to and it's like, I know that movie. And it, once again, it brings the feeling back of watching the movie.
For me, this is just me in my personal, I'd say is in my personal listening of all scores or music out there, when it comes to films, nothing for me gets more recognizable than either Arrival to Earth by Steven Jablonsky for Transformers, or again, as I mentioned earlier, John Williams' intro for Star Wars. As soon as that first loud punch of that note hits, you're like, I know what this is immediately. For music, if you're going to do scores, you need something that you recognize anywhere. And you'd be like, that's that I know what music this film goes with, or I know what film this music should be with. It's meant to draw you in, keep you in, and forever hold you. That's what scores should be for games 100%. As well.
Yeah, definitely. It's like one of my favorite pieces of music from a movie is Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I hate calling it Bram Stoker's Dracula because we've mentioned that before, my feelings on the movie. I love it and hate it at the same time. The music, though, is amazing. But the music they've also then reused many, many times in trailers for other movies, which is something that bugs me about Hollywood. There's this specific piece of music that you love, and then it's just like, wait a minute, that's from something else. You hear it in a trailer randomly, some music, they're like, I recognize that. What's that? And it's like, hang on, that's not that movie. And it's weird. But it's like, there's something that annoys me as well about soundtracks for movies. They release an album with a soundtrack, but it's not necessarily the music that's in the movie.
No, this annoys the hell out of me.
Inspired by the movie, or something somebody whistles for 2 seconds and not the actual music you want. It's like, I don't want the tracks. I want the background music, the stuff that invoked that emotion in me and set that scene. I don't want this person singing their actual song. I want that little piece of music that was there. And you don't always get it. It's so annoying.
I remember Godzilla film with the Mutos. When I saw that film, I loved the soundtrack.
Mutos? What?
With the Mutos, that's what they're called, in the first Hollywood Godzilla film in 2014. Was it 2012?
I was going to say it was earlier than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was 2012.
Movie. The one with Matthew Broderick in it?
I think so, yeah.
Was that that? I thought it was earlier.
With Elizabeth Olsen.
That's not the first one. What are you on about?
No, that's the second one. I'll get it up now.
No, the first one was like long time ago.
No, not like that.
No. The first Hollywood one. That was in the 90s, man.
No, mate, not like that.
1998. That was like, but that had a good music. There's Jimmy Page in it. Once again, Jamiroquai did Deeper Underground, which is a really good track. Yeah, 1998. That was the first Hollywood Godzilla movie, with the Godzilla eggs and the babies and stuff.
I know which one you're on about now, yeah. I know.
Yeah, that's the first Hollywood Godzilla.
Yeah, then I've got it wrong. It was the 2014 one. It was the 2014 one. I loved the music in this film, and when I bought the CD for the music, I noticed a couple tracks in, this isn't same. This is not the same thing.
No.
And that answers that question, that they've done music that inspires the film, not the music from the film.
Inspired by the film, yeah. Well, yeah, it's ridiculous.
I wanted what the film was. I wanted that music.
Do you know, I'd say the one music soundtrack from a movie that two that never disappointed me were Lost Boys. Lost Boys is a fantastic film, and the soundtrack is amazing. And of course, Transformers the movie. One of the best soundtracks of all time.
Best soundtracks, yes.
Oh my God, come on.
Stan Bush did amazing with that project. Do you know the story behind Stan Bush going to sing for that film? He was told, after releasing his most recent album at that point, he was asked by his group, would you like to do an entire album for a film? And he's like, yeah, sure. What film is it? It's about robots saving the world and their own species. He laughed a lot, but then he got in contact with Peter Cullen, Optimus Prime, and he asked Peter Cullen in one way, give me a reason to make an album for this film. And Peter Gillen just said what he usually says as Optimus Prime. One shall stand, one shall fall. There's more to this than meets the eye. Before you know it, Stan Bush did The Touch. Just as a taster.
So good.
The Touch was his taster to that film. Before you know it, the rest is history.
It's so good, and Weird Al Yankovic on there and all. It's just such a good mixture of kind of different types of music. There's some singing, there's some instrumentals. None of it's really classical. It's more kind of modern music, really, in it than classical, more electro and that sort of thing. But oh my god, every track is brilliant. It's like I can just hear it in my mind, and I'm thinking like the death of Optimus Prime and stuff like that. It's all classic tracks, all of it, and just the beginning bit of the newer version of Transformers. That's such a good track as well. Oh god, it's such a good piece of music. Love that movie. Brilliant.
I'm going to watch it tonight. Cheers, mate.
We couldn't mention soundtracks without that, because that is, come on, for both of us, that is possibly one of the best soundtracks.
It's my favourite soundtrack. It's got to be.
You just can't not like it. You got The Touch comes on, and it's just like, oh, yeah. And
I think in that film, the 1993 Transformers animated film, when it comes to non-lyrical music, just basic music, it to me it has to be the entire Quintesson act, where Hot Rod and
Cup
and
Wheelie,
Hot Rod, Cup, Wheelie, and the Dinobots meet the Quintessons. That entire soundtrack, from the moment Hot Rod is driving underwater with Cup, to the point where Wheelie is that guy from the opening of the film falls down to that water. That entire stretch of music is
one thing I'm going to have to say now. We've nearly bomb.
I love it.
Gotta know that. We've nearly bomb. Oh my god!
See, of course, this podcast involves geeky shit. It's always going to. It's going
I love
to.
that, like when the Junkians, then you get Dare to Be Stupid and
Dare to Be Stupid.
Eric Idle did the voice for the leader of the Junkians, didn't he? I can't remember what was the name of the character. I can't remember. It was Eric Idle, wasn't it? Pretty sure it was.
But again, that film. I want to speak badly about it, but I can't.
You can't. There's nothing bad. I
was just thinking, like, is there anything bad about this film? It's not. There's nothing bad about it. It works as a standalone film. You don't have to watch the animated TV show at all.
No, that's the thing. They kind of explain everything as they go, and you learn about the characters and who are the good guys, who are the bad guys. The only thing I'll say that's kind of always like it gets your heartstrings is how many of the classic characters they just kill off. Like in the first 2 minutes of the movie, it's like you're dead, you're dead.
That
Jazz is like all of them.
Jazz,
it's like just go.
Yes, they come back, but at the same time, that was a lot of
Skywarp. Skywarp gets turned into something else. Skywarp was my favorite. Not just because he was an airplane, he was black and purple. That's not just the reasons. Not just because of the purple. No, there's other reasons. Skywarp was cool, but he was like my favorite of the Decepticons. I love Skywarp. He was brilliant. But you can't fault it. It was just the way it was crafted. Once again, it's like the voice of Unicron. Absolutely fantastic. I couldn't imagine anybody else doing Unicron's voice.
The whole opening. The entire as soon as you see Hot Rod with that fishing rod in hand, you know it's going to be a good film because that with Daniel, that entire first 5 minutes of Unicron, the Transformers, and then
it's just
you just see Hot Rod with Daniel. That's the best part of the film. The music behind Unicron as the camera's slowly falling behind him.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's brilliant.
Anyways, we should end it there, mate.
Yeah, we've talked
It's come up to
about
an hour.
lots of stuff. Yes.
Oh yeah, what a topic to
What
end
a
it on.
journey.
Transformers
Transformers.
1993.
And as I said, Lost Boys is also a
Lost Boys,
fantastic,
yes. Lost Boys is fantastic. I know Lost
soundtrack.
Boys.
That's such a good soundtrack. Especially when you get the carnival music, that's just stupid. That's in the middle of the soundtrack. It's like, what the hell? I love it. But yeah, Transformers is always going to be the best.
Oh yeah, agreed.
You got the touch.
I've got the power.
Dare
to be stupid.
Mm.
But yeah, thank you for tuning in. My name's been Josh with my co-host.
I'm Nathan.
And until next time.
See you next time.